have both engines sitting here as they were before, but now we finally have some new parts to go on to this one from the old one. We're going to be swapping some things too, and I think we decided we're going to swap a few more things than we thought before. We're going to go ahead and swap the whole intake setup over, so it'll be the carburetor and the intake runners, and then these have the, what are they called, well, I mean, I guess you could say an intake runner. It's the preheat pipes where it actually sends hot exhaust air back up through into the intake, and it prevents freezing in the carburetor and stuff, except for we don't really have that problem in California, but you know, whatever. The biggest reason for us to install them is actually because it looks like that whole intake is actually only held in by one bolt on this thing, which to me just sounds crazy, but whatever. But I've heard that those intake runners that come from the exhaust actually help support the intake and keep it, you know, from vibrating itself loose and coming out or whatever. So we got that gaskets we need for that. We got gaskets for the exhaust, all the stuff we needed since we disassembled all of it. And what else? I guess we got the intake ones.
Spark plugs, and we got a new belt as well.
That's right, spark plugs and a belt.
And we're going to try to cannibalize what's left of the spark plug wires. Most of them are in pretty good condition, so I don't think we're going to have any problems with that.
It's just really stupid. We probably should have just bought some, but oh well. We didn't.
Too late. So.
Hey, you know, if it starts and it runs, I'll be happy. And if we need to throw some wires on it real quick later, that's not a big deal. But I just want to get it in the car and make sure it works properly and make sure this thing runs well. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and by the way, because I really want to find out still where all that metal came from and what was pinging around in the bell housing, that transmission, we found like what, several big chunks of metal in there.
Yeah, big pieces.
So I brought a 36 millimeter from my toolbox at work so that I can go ahead and try and crank this thing off, crank this off the crankshaft. Anyways, if I get this flywheel off, that'd be cool because I'd like to see if that's where the metal came from, because at least looking in the transmission and looking elsewhere here, I don't see where that metal came from. There's a bunch of pinging and, you know, whatever marks on the transmission, but I don't see any big pieces of metal missing. So,
well, we know there's pieces of metal in there.
Yes.
They're probably missing from somewhere.
Yeah, and I have a feeling they might be from behind the flywheel. So let's go ahead and start working on these things. I want to go ahead and turn the compressor on, which is loud, so you guys won't want to hear that, but I'm going to turn the compressor on when we start working to pump up and get some air in there. And I'm going to try and put the 1/2-inch gun behind this thing and see if we can break it loose that way. So let's get started. Alright, Harbor Freight, don't let me down. Let's see, by the way, I did mess up the end of this. Let's see if I can just tap it on. Oh yeah, no problem. Okay, here's the Harbor Freight half inch. See if she does it. There we go. Just go left and right. There we go. All right, so flywheel's off. Is there anything missing here? No. Looks like that rear main seal was leaking a lot. That thing's soaked, and it looks like the crank's bent also, actually, because the bottom right here is recessed more than the top, and yeah, and the top is actually pushing the seal back this way. So this thing, when it seized up and killed this engine, it actually seized the crankshaft up on this and bent it. So that's some pretty serious damage. But I still do not see where the metal came from. That's a problem. Yes, it is. You have to take the alternator pedestal off. I already got it. Oh, hey, can you take the intake off now?
Yeah, sure.
You know, honestly, why this is a pain? Because it's really not that bad to work on. It's just because it seems like it should be easier.
Well, it's not like there's that many parts.
Well, I know, and that's my point of like why it's not like it's even that much of a pain, because it's not like it's that many parts like it would be, hey, let's pull your alternator out on a modern car. Some cars you gotta pull a lot of stuff out. But it's like you know what you're in for. But looking at this and how small and simple it's supposed to be, I don't understand why they added so many extra steps to things that just do not make sense or seem necessary.
So we're back in the shop. Last time we left off, we had realized that there were some gaskets for an oil cooler, or for the oil cooler, that were really shot. And in order to continue to reinstall the pieces that we need on this engine, we decided that it would be worthwhile to replace them. Unfortunately, Jesse's sick, so he's not able to help out. But I have since gotten those parts, and I'm excited to start reinstalling all of the pieces that we need to get this engine running. So before I start installing anything, I want this engine to be a little bit more presentable than it is. It's been sitting a while, and I just want to make sure that, you know, it looks clean for its owner. So I'm going to go ahead and start by getting as much of this dirt and grime off as I can. So last time we finished up, we realized that there's some gaskets here at the bottom of the oil cooler that were pretty shot. So we went ahead and got some new ones so that we could replace it when we reinstall it. I'm gonna remove this shielding here. I actually realized last time when I took this off that it's a lot easier to get to the bolts underneath here. I don't know if you can see them. There's two of them underneath here, and it's just way easier if the shielding's not in the way of your hand. Alright guys, so I had a special guest drop by. This is John, and he is actually the owner of this car. So I'm excited for him to see kind of where we're at and what we're doing, and I think he's pretty excited to get it up and running, right?
I am. It's been a long time.
How long has it been since you drove it?
It's been 2.5 years since it's been driven by me.
And after that?
It's been 1.5 years since it's been driven at all.
Before it was no longer drivable. So we're really excited. I know that he's really excited to get his car back. And yeah, keep watching. We're gonna get this engine in really soon. So moving right along here, I've now gotten the generator, the carburetor, and the distributor back onto the engine. What I'm gonna do next is replace all of the airflow gaskets, both intake and exhaust. The old ones are starting to fall apart. They're actually starting to separate, so they're just not reusable. So I went and I picked up a kit that had all of the new gaskets in it. After I put the new gaskets on, I'm gonna start replacing all of those airflow pieces. So next on my list here is going to be new spark plugs and new spark plug wires. The ones that we pulled out of the other engines weren't looking so great, and we just thought it would be best to put some new parts in there. I got some NGK spark plugs I'm going to start with, and I'm going to be gapping them to 26 thousandths. So next thing I'm going to do is replace the spark plug wires. Now you want to make sure that you get the fire order correct on this. All the way on the right hand side is going to be number 1, and the back is going to be number 2. 3 is going to be on the left here, and 4 is going to be the one that's outermost towards me. What's going to be really easy about this is the spark plugs are actually numbered on the paneling here. I don't know if you can see, but on this side is going to be 1 and 2, and this side is going to be 3 and 4.
So it's another day again, and I'm here. Matt's supposed to be joining me soon, and he got most of this engine back together, I guess, while I was sick out that day, sadly. But I am mostly better now, and let's get the rest of this thing together, and maybe we can start putting this engine in tonight. But I need to get the clutch on here, and realized I don't have a clutch alignment tool, which is a bummer. So I'm gonna have to make do the best I can and use my finger. And what's going to be important when I do that, at least, is just to try and put it on, keep it perfectly centered as much as possible. See how much play there is left and right, up and down. I'm going to do my best to center it as perfect as I can by hand, and then tighten the pressure plate down onto it, and hopefully it holds all right. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. There's a little bit of surface rust on here, but it actually doesn't look like it's scored up or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit it with a steel brush and install the clutch. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just set the pressure plate here. Get a couple of these bolts started. Pressure plate's pretty much there. I'm going to go ahead and start to snug one of these down. Alright, and now is where I need to center the clutch. A little looser. So that's high, that's low. Right there is around the middle. Left, right. That's eyeballing it right in the middle.
So next thing here is we're going to go ahead and put on the heater boxes, and what we need to look out for is we have 3 different airways that we need to connect all at the same time. The first one is up in the front here, that's connecting to the header. The second one's connecting to that fresh air exchange box, and the third one in the back is going to connect to the header, or to the manifold. Yeah. It's going to be a lot easier if you have a really strong man here to help you out, because it's a lot simpler when the engine's up off the ground a little bit.
Or if you have an engine stand, which we have 2 of, but they both have engines on them.
So that doesn't help at all.
So it doesn't help.
No.
So I'll lift that side, you get that hooked up, and then you just have to put the belt on. But we can just put the belt on the car too.
I think this is the last thing we have to put on before we put the engine in.
Alright, let's do it.
There we go. There you go. Nice. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Yeah, and then place that down. And then the clamp holds them together or something.
I think there's a little bit of a gap between the heater box and the fresh air exchange box that this clamp covers. If I recall correctly, that same gap was on the original motor. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that, but I'm gonna put it back together the same way I found it. So,
Okay, so this engine's back together. We still have to put the alternator belt back in the front, but we'll go ahead and just do that after the engine's in the car. But we were hoping just to put the exhaust on, and what else?
we did, that was it. We just
Yeah, the exhaust.
those
I think-
exhaust boxes on.
Yeah, the exhaust, the belt, and then wiring. But we're gonna do the wiring in the car, and we'll just do the belt in the car too. But this exhaust took longer than we thought because these rusty studded holes did not want to work well, and we ended up accidentally breaking one of these studs on the exhaust. So got to have fun pulling that back out and then find another stuff to make it work. End up having to find another stud that actually came from a Miata. So that's cool.
Miata.
Now there's a Miata stud in this Volkswagen motor.
This Volkswagen is now 1% Miata.
Probably 1%, because this car doesn't have that many parts in it. So
It's
one
a whole
volt
percent.
is probably a whole percent. Yeah. So anyways, we got that I ended up tapping that hole, got it in. Not a big deal. Nothing special. But anyways, I think that's good for tonight, and this is the end of this episode. Next episode, we're gonna actually start getting the engine in the car. Yes. And by the way, if there's a whole bunch of jump cuts for the last like 30 seconds of the video, I'm sorry. I've had hiccups since like lunchtime today.
It's hilarious.
No, it's not hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
It really sucks. And
It's great. I love it. I'm having a great time.
It's driving me nuts.
Well,
It's been all day now.
I don't mind it.
Ugh, excuse me. I'm sure you don't. Anyways, I hope you guys had some fun watching this. We've been learning along with you guys, and if any of you guys are experts and know more than us, great.
Yep.
But it's already done, so.
So it's kind of late.
Yeah, kind of late. Oh, kind of late for advice. But we would not turn down any advice that we get because hey, maybe it could come in handy in the future. But anyways,
thank you guys so much for watching. Really excited that you stuck through this little series here. Next part, like Jesse said, we're gonna go ahead and put this engine in and hopefully get it operational. That would be the best.
Stop saying hopefully. We're gonna.
Well, we'll see. Things happen.
Still hiccups.
Don't forget to like our videos if you still like us.
Don't forget to not fall over, by the way. Anyways, have a good night, guys, and don't forget, keep wrenching.